Lafayette, waking to the thunder and roar. Doors swing wide at 7:45. You can feel that rumble right through the floor. Smoke curls up with the first lit cigar. Crew rolls in like a rock and roll wave. Unleashed, unfiltered, everything louder. This is the broadcast you crave. The Lakey Unleashed Roadshow is coming. Feel that the crowd is coming. See the Lakey Unleashed broadcast live. Turn it up, we're alive. The Lakey Unleashed Roadshow. He's on your screen. Wake up, step into the dream. Infotainment brilliance gets you on your way. From House of Lakey Studios, it's your favorite part of day. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes you feel alive. Unleashed, unfiltered, unashamed, unafraid we rise. God bless America, praise Jesus as we roll. Coast to coast, shore to shore, Jimmy's waking up your soul. Start your day with Jimmy Lakey. The Lakey Entertainment Tower, shout it loud. Start your day with Jimmy Lakey. The show starts now.
All right, the show starts now, my friends. Glad to have you here. Brother Leroy, he's been working overtime. He hasn't sent us the invoice yet. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're asking for money on the street corners soon, it's because we got to pay Brother Leroy for all the new creative. That's what they call it, creative in the business. He's doing it. He's doing it. Yeah, Brother Leroy, working hard for his money. And welcome, Brother Leroy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Don't send that invoice. Send to the old address, and maybe we'll get to it one day. Producer Chad, we got to get some more sponsors on the show to afford the creative work of Brother Leroy and the Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir. That's a pretty good little intro. I almost want to play it again, but I'm not going to. Welcome to the show, everybody. Jimmy is my name. Jimmy Lakey. Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we are together singing Kumbaya, Kumbaya, and talking about news and all the events of the day. Anybody watch those or listen to those Supreme Court hearings yesterday? Women's sports on the line, the Supreme Court's. Could you imagine, go back in a timeline 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that there was going to be argument in front of the Supreme Court about whether a biological boy, let's say somebody with the twig and berries, can go play sports as a girl. Pretend to be a girl. And then it's also, could you imagine 20 years ago ever talking about, hey, we're going to give people puberty blockers and we're going to give them things that will stop their hormones from being somewhat of a biological boy, but we're also going to mutilate them at the age of 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. So it's unbelievable. Just the fact that that hearing was had yesterday in front of the Supreme Court, that in and of itself is quite amazing. I also found it amazing. Anybody remember the confirmation hearing of Ketanji Jackson Brown or Brown Jackson, whatever her name is? She's not the brightest bulb on the Supreme Court. I'm not sure that she has the whole 64 set of crayons up there. But I'm telling you, she was the one in her confirmation hearing when she was asked, can you define what a woman was? And she did not want to. She goes, I'm not a biologist. Remember the famous response by Ketanji Brown Jackson? And at the time that she did that in her confirmation hearing, I said, that's a strange answer. And I don't even know why that came up, because I was not aware that we were on the cusp at the time and entering into a dark season in America and a dark season in culture in which we were going to deny that which is common sense to all of us, that when the baby comes down the chute, boom, the doctor looks and says, boy. Doctor looks and says, girl. It's kind of obvious as to which one you got, except unless you're a modern-day libtard Democrat, and then they're not really sure what they got. But I always thought I was listening to Ketanji Brown Jackson ask some questions yesterday, the brief time that I listened to the hearing at the Supreme Court, and I thought, wow, how is it that we have a woman that in her own confirmation hearing to get a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court, you have a woman who does not understand the definition of a man and a woman? And that led me to believe, and I think it was Justice Alito who drilled down on this, but I was thinking the same thing, just not as eloquent as Justice Alito. I was like, if you're not willing to define what a man and a woman is, then how do you know you're discriminating against anybody? It really was a lot of circular logic, and we'll see. It'll be a few months, I'm sure, before we get the hearing on this thing, but hopefully we'll have some sanity and women's sports will be saved in America. That would be a very, very good thing. Justice Brett Kavanaugh had some good questions. And so everybody stay tuned on this one. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Supreme Court comes. But I think, just listening to it, I think the arguments and the stupidity behind this trans movement and this trans thing playing girls can boys can play in girls sports. I think a lot of it was just they had to say the quiet part out loud. Now, I know most people weren't listening. The average citizen didn't even know there was a Supreme Court case yesterday. They didn't listen to geek out on some of the hearing like I did. But I have to tell you, I was kind of pleased that the ACLU and the lawyers in favor of boys playing in girls sports. I was kind of thrilled that they said some of those quiet parts out loud, and at times kind of seemingly had to back off some of the public statements because they know how stupid it sounds. So if you watched that yesterday, I'd love to hear from you on the case before the Supreme Court. It was yesterday the day that we began to save girls' sports. Was yesterday the day that we start turning back the clock and the calendar on some of the stupidity and literal insanity of a culture recognizing people that probably have a mental illness. As a matter of fact, up until the last 10 years, it was always known as gender dysphoria. It was a diagnosable condition, and yet now we just say, oh, they have transgender rights. Well, why is it throughout most cultures and throughout up until a few years ago, we called it a dysphoria? It was a mental illness you had to deal with, but now we're supposed to just say just trans and respect it. Well, you can be trans. I don't care how you dress up. I don't care whether you want to ignore the twig and berries. I don't care if you want to chop the twig and berries off. Doesn't matter to me. What you do with your twig and berries concerns me nary a bit. But you can't go out there and pretend to not have twig and berries, pretend to not have testosterone, take chemical treatments to reduce that testosterone, and then just call yourself a girly man. It's just not going to work for me. And I think common sense prevailed. I listened to the argument. There were a couple of dumb questions and people that were never going to get their heart right. But this may be a decision that's not necessarily as split as you think. Somebody asked me, what do you think of what Amy Coney Barrett? I went back and read the transcript. She asked a couple of questions, but I think they were not necessarily tipping her hand. So we'll see. Anyway, good morning, everybody. It's the 14th day of January, year of our Lord, 2026. Glad to have you here. You heard the little preamble on the show before the jingle started. January the 20th is a big roadshow event. It's less than a week away. It's our first roadshow stop out on the road in 2026, and we're going to be right here in the home broadcast state of Colorado. It will be the Casbar Cigar Lounge. So yes, they're cigar friendly. Laura Carno has confirmed she'll be joining us in person. A couple of other in-person guests we're working on, and we'll always have our usual cast of characters. We picked January the 20th for our first roadshow event of 2026, I should say, because it's the anniversary of the inauguration. It's the commemoration. 1 year into Donald Trump's term. He's got 3 more to go, and we're going to kind of celebrate that. This is where we did the inauguration event last year, right as the show was getting started. And we're going to return to the scene of the crime, if you will, January the 20th in Lafayette, Colorado. Not far from Boulder, not far from Denver, worth the drive. And I expect a lot of you are going to make it down, come in for it. And last year we had a snowy, icy day. If you recall, the temperatures in Colorado were well below zero, so much that the food trucks couldn't even show up because they were freezing. And that was a crazy day, and it was what we called in the concert business at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. We called it butts to nuts. It was crowded in there, and it was overwhelmed. Some people drove an hour and a half, 2 hours in the ice and snow to get to us, and we appreciate that. So coming up Tuesday, January 20th, we want to see you at the Roadshow event, the very first Roadshow event of the season. All right, we'll talk more about the Supreme Court arguments on the program today. Also, there's talk about what do you do if you have somebody that naturalizes as a citizen, Obviously, if you come into this place and you're not a citizen, whether you're legal or illegal, but you got a green card or whatever you got, listen, if you come in here and start defrauding the federal government, welfare fraud, welfare abuse, you ought to have your ass kicked out of here really quickly. You ought to be just post haste, out the door you go. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That's what should happen. But what do you do when you have naturalized citizens, that have, they've supposedly taken the oath and said they're going to be loyal to this country, and yet they commit welfare fraud or they commit some kind of a public fraud against the government? Should they keep that naturalization? Does the naturalization go with you forever? The GOP is looking to denaturalize public fraudsters. Adios, amigo y amigas. Bye-bye. Get the heck out of our country. And I think this is a good thing. I wondered, I have these thoughts all the time. What are the protesters on the streets that are trying to burn down Minneapolis? I wonder if any of them have ever gone back as they're screaming about ICE so much and ever considered that ICE has been doing the exact same job they're doing now. They've done that under Joe Biden. They've done that under Barack Obama. He was known as the deporter in chief. I wonder if they almost act as if ICE just got invented in the beady little head of Donald Trump's, and boom, we have this new thing, the Gestapo. What do they call it? Gestapo. They call them all sorts of names. I just wonder if any of them have ever considered that ICE existed well before Donald Trump ever got into office. ICE existed before Donald Trump was in politics, and ICE was going door to door at times extracting people from this nation. I wonder if the clowns, the blue-haired fools that are marching the streets, many of them big fat lesbians on the streets of Minneapolis, there's something about women in the left that have gone totally bat crap crazy. I heard an explanation about this yesterday. I thought it was a fascinating on womandom. Why is it that a lot of these protesters, the ones you see beating the drums and screaming, driving their car, all the stuff? I just want to ask the question: why is it that these women seem to have gone crazy? And I heard an explanation, and I wish I could find where I heard it yesterday, but it was fascinating. The explanation was this. Women have a mother bear innate tendency. They're wired. They are wired to be mother bears. They're mama bears. They are going to take care of they got to protect something. And whenever the family has been broken up, and when they've been taught that motherdom, or they've chosen things in life that are not going to be mothers, that natural instinct with a little mental derangement kicks in, and they're just territorial. And that's what you hear that explanation, and someone said it much more eloquently than I did. You hear that explanation, and you have to say, huh. That makes a lot of sense, because a lot of these ugly women out there beating the drums and making all sorts of nonsense, a lot of them look like they look like angry bears out there. They really do. So anyway, glad to have you here on the show. Let's talk about that. Now, one more quick thing. I've got a question for you. A lot of you began the year with New Year's resolution. We talked about early this week about that. We're going to go to my guest. I understand. We talked about early this week the things that you had as a New Year's resolution. Did anybody pause at the new year? Now we're in 2026, January the 14th, the live broadcast here. Anybody pause and say, it's the year freaking 2026? I mean, when you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, what did you think that the 2026 year would look like? I can remember I was just getting in the music business. I was a partner on a theater, a concert hall, a concert venue, just started to do concerts. And I remember one of my business partners at the time was telling me and talking that we were playing the first ever iPod. We had the first iPod, the first one, the little circle thing, and it had like 2 games on it. We were playing the iPod, and that's how we kept the music in the foyer. We had a playlist on the iPod. It was classic. No more CD changer we used to have. No, we had an iPod. It was fancy. And my business partner on this theater actually said, it's going to have a phone with it too. I said, how are you going to get a phone with that? And it made no sense. He goes, no, you're going to be banking on that thing. What was this, 2006 probably? Probably 2006, 2004. It's about 2004 is when it was. We were heading into the election because we were in a college town in our venue, and it was right before the second term of G.W. Bush. So it was about 2003. And we had this iPod playing that's all fancy, and he was trying to explain to me of all the things that would be on my phone in the future, and I didn't believe it. And now I look and say, yep, he was right. Everything was on my phone. It just sounded like science fiction. So I don't know if you woke up for the New Year's. This is our question of the day. I'll go to my guest, Bruce DeTorres. Is there anything that you hope your phone will do? I never dreamt that everything that I have in life could be on a telephone, and I have it right here in my pocket. I'll pull it out here. I never dreamt that everything would be on my phone. Hard to imagine. But now sometimes I'm like, man, I wish my phone could do that. Well, Samsung, the phone company, polled 2,000 people and asked for features that they hope would have in the next 10 years. Again, you never dreamt that it would play music, take calls, surf the web, all that stuff. Well, now that you know what your phone is capable of now, in the next 10 years, what is it that you would like your phones to be able to do, and how realistic do you think those are? Some of the answers have come out. That number one answer was, I'd like in the next 10 years them to create a phone that the entire week it lasts on a single charge. And some people say they'd like their phone to operate without electricity. So what are the things that, now that you know the capability of your phone, we've made it all the way to the year 2026, what are the things that you wish your phone might be able to do in the next 5 to 10 years? That is the question of the day, and I want to get your take on that. What is the day? What are the things that you kind of wish that your phone would be able to do in the next 5 to 10 years? All right. I'm Jimmy. How's everybody doing? Everybody's good? All right, very good. Let me welcome in our first guest. We're going to come back. We'll talk more about the Supreme Court arguments yesterday. It's also a day that I hope you do not celebrate. There's, you have National Yogurt Day or National Ice Cream Day, National Barbecue Day. Celebrate accordingly. Today is a national day that I hope to God you don't celebrate. If you do, I'm going to question your character and our friendship. I'll get to that story here after we talk to Bruce DeTorres. I'm going to get there. Also, we'll talk more about Iran. Are we going to bomb the heebie-jeebies out of them? How are we going to defend the people that are being massacred on the streets, public hangings? What should we do? How do we do it? We'll talk about that coming up on the program, and lots of things. Minnesota's on fire. We'll talk about that as well. And also got a story about the House failing to override a Trump veto that affects some of you in Colorado and in Florida. And I haven't talked about this Biden's big pension. He's getting a bigger pension than any other president. It's a story last week I want to comment on. So don't go anywhere, kids. Strap yourself in, and whatever platform you're listening, we have lots of platforms, people, several Facebook pages, X pages, to Twitter, Rumble. I don't think we're on the Instagram this morning, but wherever we're at, we'd love to have you participate, just comment, and most of those platforms send it right to the studio, and producer Chad reviews it and pops it right up on the screen. Don't go anywhere. And if you joined us late, Brother Leroy has a couple of new songs he wanted you to hear. One about the Lakey Roadshow coming up on Tuesday, January the 20th. All right, let's welcome in Bruce DeTorres. He's our first guest of the morning. He's the Director of Communications for the American Small Business League and the Don't Cheat Woman projects. They support advocacy work that aims to elevate women-owned small businesses in federal contracting. I welcome him into the show. Mr. Bruce DeTorres joins us on the screen. Bruce, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Jimmy. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you hopping in. First of all, I got a couple of questions. You kind of pay attention to and advocate for women. I'd like to get your take in a second on the Supreme Court arguments about saving women's sports. And, you're also an advocate for women in small businesses. The economy, maybe it's starting to churn, maybe it's starting to hum. A lot of good signs coming out there. In 2026, what are the prognostication, not just for small business, but woman-owned female-owned small businesses? Are we looking good? Is it going to be a good year?
The kind of consensus of commentary that I've seen is kind of neutral or flat, as they say. One could emphasize the good news where some numbers go up. One could emphasize where they dip, but kind of the consensus is a cautionary approach, kind of not boring, but just kind of flat. No, there's no great tendency for. I'm not seeing a great tendency for a great uplift, nor a great tendency for a great downturn based on the facts, figures, and numbers. The jobs report recently. Job creation is a great concern. It's much below kind of historics, and that's a major, if not the most important, impact on the economy. And it's great to talk about small businesses because we are a small business nation.
Yeah. Let's talk about the American Small Business League. You're the strongest voice in America protecting the federal programs that assist the nation's 34.7 million small businesses. You fight legal battles for the small business community out there. You hear about tariffs, and we were told that tariffs were going to immediately sink us into a depression. Talk about tariffs and the effects that they have had overall on small businesses. Have the Trump tariffs put small businesses on a more level playing field, or have the Trump tariffs harmed small businesses, in your opinion?
They've had a mitigating effect on investment and expansion. That's what I've seen. It's described as caution with investments, caution with hiring, and it is laid at the feet of the tariffs. And I've seen, as so many have, the speculation, if not, the hope that long-term this strengthens the economy by encouraging investment in manufacturing and infrastructure. That's a marathon. That's not a sprint. I think we're far from seeing what good is going to come from the tariffs. So it's still pointed at by small business owners as, that's why we're a little cautious. That's why I'm not hiring. That's why I'm not investing and expanding.
Interesting. The American Small Business League, we'll talk about that, but you have a whole project or an initiative called Don't Cheat Woman. And depending on the emphasis that I put, or we say emphasis that I put on that.
Exactly.
The emphasis that I put on that, yeah, that could come out a lot of different ways. Don't cheat woman, or it could be don't cheat woman. What's the tone of the don't cheat woman thing? And talk about the initiative.
Thank you. It's at our Don't Cheat Women, plural.com website, which is our request to Congress and to inform people to also ask Congress, raise, please, from 5% to 15% the amount of federal contracts that must go to women-owned small businesses. That would push from 23% to 33% the federal contracts that are supposed to go to small businesses. And there's a great bunch of benefits to the economy and to women in particular if Congress would do that, as well as define a small business as up to 100 employees, not 500. Rein in the agencies, the federal agencies, that because of that excuse can give Jimmy small business contracts to companies with 1,000 employees, 2,000 employees, sometimes 26,000 employees, some of the biggest companies in the world, let alone in America. And all that as a visceral, emotional, wow, intriguing, wow, that would be great for women for all the reasons at don'tcheatwomen.com, to teach people this. And this is the mission of the ASBL.com, American Small Business League. It's to expose the fact that even though every year the SBA and the government says, we met the goal 23%, we exceeded the goal of 23%. No, our work, congressional investigations, and the SBA's own Inspector General have found for decades the diversion of small business contracts worth billions every year are going to the 0.1% of companies that are big businesses. 99.9% of all businesses in America are small businesses by the government's too large definition of up to 500 employees. 98% of all of our businesses, Jimmy, have less than 100 employees. We are truly a small business nation. We accuse the federal government under every administration going back to President Reagan of doing almost nothing for our small businesses.
Yeah. Let me ask you, as a leader with the Small Business League, we'll talk about the website and the don't. By the way, I've got to tell Drew and the folks over at the publishing company that they have several of the references say "don't cheat woman," and I said that you can say that a lot of different ways. I got to tell them to pluralize that because it was throwing me off for a second. I could hear myself going, "Hey, don't cheat, woman." That's what I tell Delilah, who works for me at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. Don't cheat, woman. I've got to tell them to correct that on there because it threw me off. But Don't Cheat Women is the project there. Why is it important? Because sometimes you hear we really want to push the women-owned or this segment of society's own. Why not just push small business in general and let this best small business get the gig. Why is it important in your estimation to really specify some kind of a quota system, if you will, on woman-owned small businesses? Is that affirmative action?
That's a great question. You know, a couple of years ago when I first got to know my now boss, Lloyd Chapman, and he was talking about this, maybe it was a year and a half ago, I came from the same angle, like, why can't it just be on merit? Well, here's why. Women are artificially blocked and pushed aside from the acquisition of these federal contracts. Not only, and here's why. Not only are women half the population, they own 40% of all businesses, Jimmy, and they sell what the government buys. And yet the law says they're only supposed to get up to 5%. You know, it doesn't cap it, but it says they're supposed to get at least 5%. In reality, they're probably getting less than 1%. Just like in reality, true small businesses up to 100 employees aren't getting 23% of the federal contracts. They're getting probably 3 or 4%. So women own 14 million businesses that generate over almost $3 trillion in revenue. They employ about 12 million people, and they sell what the government buys. And yet there's the momentum of decades is squeezing them out of fair consideration for small business contracts, just like small businesses are squeezed out of fairly winning small business contracts. Then the emotional button we push is the fact that men dominate in politics simply because they earn and save more. So everything that could be done to level the playing field of economic opportunity, not handouts, not charity, for women will help by this measure. Men dominate because they earn and save more. They contribute, they hold 75% of all seats in the House, the Senate, every president's cabinet, all state legislatures, almost that many governor chairs, 90% of committee chair and party leadership positions. They donate more to campaigns, so they have more influence with the winners. So when women have all the economic equality of opportunity that they can have, they can compete and participate in politics. Half the human race needs to have all obstacles removed so they can participate in the governance of our self-governing democratic republic.
I just got a note from Aiden, one of the hipster youth that I have here at the Lakey Entertainment Tower studio. Hipster, not Hitler, hipster youth, skinny jeans, and he has a weird name named Aiden, and doesn't know how to shave most days. But nevertheless, he said, Jimmy, that's the problem. We let him vote, we let him drive, and now we're going to give him preferences in businesses. He's a sexist. I'm not that way, Bruce. I'm not that way at all. But Aiden's he's wanted to see if you can take some driver's licenses away. And I told him I'm not even going to ask you that question. That's a sexist question, Aiden. He's a hipster youth. Please forgive him. I apologize on his behalf.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The variety is the spice of life, and there's all kinds out there.
First of all, I want to talk about this. Women don't cheat women. We'll talk about the website here and the American Small Business League. But I got to ask you, your bio is quite interesting. Folks don't know this about you. You have you're an author. You've written a book called God School, 9/11 and JFK, The Lies That Are Killing Us and the Truth That Sets Us Free. And also as an actor, you had lead roles in comedies, dramas, musicals. You were once called the funniest and most vocally gifted member of a show, according to the New York Times. Talk about the side of Bruce DeTorres is not talking about don't cheat women and the American Small Business Administration. Actor Bruce Torres?
Yeah, I did that. That was my career I was pursuing into my 30s. And by learning how to relate to humans on stage, Jimmy, I discovered I don't really know how to relate to them in real life to my total satisfaction. So I set out on a journey of not only self-discovery, but I've always been a voracious reader. And then after 9/11, I saw that official story is nonsense. So I went down that rabbit hole, Jimmy. And after 10 years of researching all the nonsense and the lies that I could find behind the scenes, I organized and wrote a book as you said, people can read all about it at brucetotaurus.com. It was published by trineday.com, a great resource for hidden history, trineday.com. My publisher, I started doing marketing for him for 4.5 years. I was his marketing director. And then I had my own podcast, and I found Lloyd Chapman on X.com, the founder of the American Small Business League. I interviewed him so many times. He said, "You should work for me."
First of all, I like a good book plug. God School, 9/11 and JFK, the lies that are killing us and the truth that sets us free. Sounds like, Bruce, is a place that I love to live. Maybe a little bit of dwelling up on a grassy knoll. Would that, I guess, catch our attention that some of us would love to read it?
Absolutely. My chapter on JFK is my favorite. And to study his assassination, one discovers his greatness, the reason he was killed. And I've been obsessed by JFK since 2013 when I really comprehended. And he's also the measure of what we are not right now. And all roads down that rabbit hole, JFK, who he was, what we've been ever since his removal, takes us to our founding ideals. And that's the cornucopia of inspiration of what the founders created for us, what they warned us about, what power and government will always become, and how, like Eisenhower said, an alert and knowledgeable citizenry is what we need to be if we have a prayer of restoring the republic. I could go on about how we're not America. We're not under the Constitution since the Department of Homeland Security and the USA Patriot Act, Jimmy. We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Can I go down a grassy knoll rabbit hole and see what your thoughts are? I had this conversation just last week with a friend of mine, and we were talking about Trump, the first term, and he talked about some of the things that he thinks are going to get set right back to get us back on the right path. But he told me, this is a grassy knoll conspiracy, don't judge me. He said JFK Jr. is still alive, and JFK Jr. is orchestrating this to get retribution for his father, and RFK Jr. also sees this as a chance of retribution to set the country back on the path that it was on during his uncle and his father. Give me your thoughts. I thought it was intriguing. I just went, wow, I had not heard that one.
That's bunk. That a couple of years ago made the rounds on the internet like anything can, with QAnon and this fellow who was supposedly, no. JFK Jr.'s plane was taken down by an explosion. That was no accident. JFK Jr. was assassinated in July of 1999. There's a book by Damon Ise, I-S-E, JFK Jr., America's Prince, Marked for Death. I interviewed him. He's a friend of mine, and he lays out, he's a former pilot flight instructor, and he studied that assassination to a persuasive degree that, nope, sorry, JFK Jr. died July, I think, 16th, 1999.
Wow. Was that the assassination or the plane that goes down that clears the way for Hillary Rodham Kankles Clinton to run for Senate in New York?
That is indisputably a factual sequence of events, and one would would bet dollars to donuts without any, just what we know publicly about the trail of suspicion around that couple of the Clintons and even the dead bodies, but I can't say conclusively no.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought that they just happen to run parallel, and just throw it out there for contemplation.
And you and I are resonating with a great sense of humor. And I always like to squeeze in when I talk about these things. Thousands, Jimmy, are fans of yours and mine who know this kind of thing. Definitely yours. I don't know how many are my fans. And after we reach a point where we have to stop talking, just stewing about these realities that we know and have the courage to bring them up where it's not comfortable. We have to risk being called a conspiracy theorist and challenge people to look into these things for themselves. And then when they get convinced, to have the courage to talk about it, because we have to believe that good things will happen when enough of us know how corrupt things really are and participate in groping for solutions together.
Yeah. The name of your book, again, not the top reason you came on here, it's called God School, 9/11, and JFK, The Lies That Are Killing Us and the Truth That Sets Us Free, written by Bruce DeTorres. You might want to get a copy of it if any of this piqued your interest in the last couple of seconds. Very quickly, Bruce, I want to talk about the American Small Business League, the Don't Cheat Women Project. A lot of small business owners probably going to hear this show live, or thousands of earballs will hear by the end of the day. How do people, what does the American Small Business League do to help small business owners, and what are the websites they need to go to?
Thank you so much. ASBL.com, learn about the realities I described, the corruption, the fraud of the contracts really going to big businesses. Don'tCheatWomen.com to learn those details and see a page called What You Can Do, and also resources of how to find what federal contracts are available and apply for them. It's not easy. That needs to be streamlined and improved if we're going to have a federal government that actually serves the 99% of all businesses that are small businesses. There are 32 million small businesses that sell in the industries that the federal government buys from, and a woefully, pathetically tiny fraction ever get a small business contract. The big businesses that get those contracts, Jimmy, they're already big. They don't create one new job. But if small businesses got the contracts they're supposed to, that would be an extra 2 million jobs created on top of the jobs that are normally created. And job creation has cratered this year in 2025. And it's the leading muscle for economic prosperity, strength, quality of life. People really need to understand this about small businesses and how the federal government is woefully failing us.
Yesterday, argument in front of the Supreme Court was whether women that are not women, they're biologically born a male, could identify as a woman through surgery or chemicals, or just say, "Hey, I am woman, hear me roar," and they could go out there and play sports. And that was an argument in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. It's not so far-fetched that if this has continued to be allowed, and we're not protecting the biology of womanhood, then contracts that were supposed to go to woman-owned or women-owned small businesses, a guy with a twig in the berry could walk in and say, "No, I'm a woman as well. I get to compete with that." Is this where we go next if we don't get some sanity back to biology?
If we don't get sanity back to biology, we will go there among many other permutations of insanities. And again, in all seriousness, people have to evaluate that in the context of the COVID-19 project, which I am convinced, and I can tell people the references, was an excuse to get a bioweapon in the form of the vaccines into our veins. Dr. Naomi Wolf of dailycloud.io, best-selling author, has documented her team's examination of the Pfizer documents, how they knew and know that it is wreaking havoc and destroying women's reproduction. It's a depopulation agenda of frightening, horrific, Holocaust-level proportions.
Yeah, if somebody hasn't read Dr. Naomi Wolf, you should. Delilah, you should read it. I don't know if you can read, but sorry, Aiden, you can't read either. The hipster youth are lurking around here looking at me. So, guys, read a book. That's what you both should do. Read a book, and you won't say dumb things like you normally do. Bruce DeTorres, if somebody wants to find about the American Small Business League, they want to learn about the Don't Cheat Women initiative, where do they go, sir?
ASBL.com. Don'tCheatWomen.com. About my book, read all about it. BruceDeTorres.com.
You and I should get together, do the show segment, and let's take a trek up on the grassy knoll together real soon. I'd love to do that.
Love to. I'm fascinated by JFK, and thank you.
And of course, there's a lot of other 9/11. We can talk about that. I'll get it rescheduled, and we'll get you on. We'll spend some time together and have some fun, and yet also enlightenment. I mean, it's kind of fun to talk about, but then it's scary as hell when you realize what we've been duped by.
Yes, but it's such a blazing example of courage, and that's invigorating.
Yeah. Bruce DeTorres, ASBL is the website. Go there and Don't Cheat Women. And if somebody is a small business owner and they're needing some help and advocacy, or just some guidance or insight in how to navigate stuff, you guys are a resource for small business owners.
You would find that Don'tCheatWomen.com resources, and that's the empowerment that's publicly available by the SBA, et cetera. We're laser focused on teaching this issue and providing on the Don'tCheatWomen.com the links to quickly send a letter to the president, Kelly Loeffler, SBA administrator, your Congress people, and your senators. Hey, fix this, boost this for women, overhaul the SBA, and make sure small business contracts go to legitimate small businesses.
Go to the website. I guess maybe a New Year's resolution for everybody out there. Maybe a reminder, if you can avoid the big box stores and buy to the small business, maybe a couple of bucks more. But that's very important that we support the small business, local business owners.
Yep, because it's all about jobs, no matter how they're going to fudge it as they try to wrap us in AI and pave a road to the AI future. It eliminates human jobs, and that is the engine of a real economy. And it is the last vestige that could put the brakes on this casino financialization economy that seems being maneuvered into intentional collapse in order to impose a digital programmable currency on us, maybe UBI, universal basic income. It'll be chains around our neck. It'll be serfdom and slavery, open air, a prison of digital, conditions.
ASBL.com, don'tcheatwomen.com. Bruce DeTorres will gather back around to the microphones here in the coming days, and we'll talk about those theories that come from the grassy knoll. And a lot of times I have to tell you that what is also always, Noah was a conspiracy theorist up until the time that it started to rain, and then all of a sudden here comes the rain again. The sun is gone, and a lot of folks have called Noah a lot of names. Yeah, by the way, all of you conspiracy theorists during COVID, how many of your conspiracy theories that you were saying you're avoiding science? We've been proven pretty right on a lot of that stuff, and it was a operation that you and I were subject to, and some of you, I guess, surrendered to it a lot more than the rest of us did. But we'll talk more with Bruce DeTorres in the future on that. And again, a great guest, and I'll give you the name of his book again if you want to get ahead. And ASBL.com, he's representing them, but he does have a book you could read. It's called God School, 9/11, and JFK: The Lies That Are Killing Us and the Truth that Sets Us Free. That's what we want, the truth that'll set us free. All right, kids, coming up January the 20th is the Lakey Roadshow, first roadshow event of the year. We're staying right here in Colorado for the first roadshow event, and it's going to be at the Casbar Cigar Lounge. We believe in freedom, and you have the freedom to light up a cigar in the morning with your coffee. I envision this, lots of listeners with a cigar in their right hand and a coffee in their left, and we're having a great time. It's the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow event, and I promise, because we're paying good money for it, I think we should play the song one more time to remind you, Brother Leroy, remind you about the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow event. Yesterday, we confirmed that Laura Carno will be there in person. Turn up the speakers. It sounds good with a little bit of bass, but this is Brother Leroy's little jingle to remind you to join us Tuesday in Colorado, the first roadshow event. Texas, we're coming for you soon. But the Lakey Roadshow event, here you go. Play it, please, Brother Leroy. I like the rock and roll.
On a Tuesday morning,
Next Tuesday, coming up. Brother Leroy is good. He really is good.
7:45. You can feel that rumble right through the floor. Smoke curls up with the first lit cigar. Like a rock and roll wave. Unleashed. Unfiltered, everything louder. This is the broadcast you crave. The Lakey Unleashed Roadshow is coming.
All right, let's pause it. We'll play at the end of the show after I say my ending, while we roll the credits, we will play the entire version of the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow song that Brother Leroy, and you're going to hear producer Chad's name in it, I'm told. You're going to hear Laura Carno's name, and they'll all be there. Somebody asked me if the hipster youth are coming, and I said, somebody's got to stay back in the office and make the coffee. I don't think we let them out in public. They're embarrassing usually half the time. So anyway, at the end of the show, we will play the entire cut from Brother Leroy Leroy's new epic arena rock song called Lakey Unleashed. The road show is coming. All right, let me ask your thoughts here. If anybody watched those Supreme Court hearings yesterday, I'm hoping with some of the logical questions that got asked that the stupidity of transgenders or people that calling themselves a different gender, a different sex, was exposed. If you listen to some of the arguments they made about biology, you just kind of scratch your head and say, how the hell did we get here? And for all of us who are told we deny science all the time, there's no greater science or evidence or proof as to what your biology tells you that you are. You may have different proclivities, you may have different interests, but biology is biology. And for those of you that yelled at people like me about you're a science denier during COVID, these are people that deny whether the twig and berries actually matter in life. And I have to break the news to you, it absolutely does. Absolutely it does. So stand by. We'll talk more about that if you watch any of that. But I'm optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to get this one right. And if they do, I hope it starts restoring some sanity. Now, what's not going to be able to restore sanity is the minds of these people that actually believe that the twig and berries and biology and your God-given biology doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter, but there's a lot of folks that I think somewhere we're going to have to open hospitals up for some of these people that are so deranged by fake science and gender ideology and hatred for Donald Trump. Some of these people really, something's gone really wrong in our society, and we need to make sure that we fix it. And hopefully this Supreme Court hearing and people read the arguments. If you have any common sense at all you got to do is read the transcript. There's no video, there is audio. Read the transcript of what was talked about at the Supreme Court, and you would just have to say, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. That makes sense. And what made sense was the fact that people are born into a gender ideology, and you can, in your head, think it's different or try to change it or take chemicals or have something chopped off or anything like that. But it doesn't change the fact that in 150 years, 1,000 years, when some, I guess, archaeologist is doing some dig somewhere and he's going to dig up your bones, they're going to look at those bone structures and they're going to call you a man if you're a man. You say, well, I'm not a man. I had it chopped off of me and I'm not a man. As Rush Limbaugh say, or maybe you're a woman and you have the what Limbaugh called it the addictomy surgery. If you had the addictomy, those surgery, it doesn't matter. You can say you have that, but in 1,000 years, when some archaeologist is digging up your bones like you're an ancient relic in Pompeii, then they're going to say you're a woman. So you may temporarily, with a mental disease, gender dysphoria is what we used to call it, identify yourself as a woman or a man, but in the grand scheme of things, 1,000 years from now, when you're an archaeological exhibit, you're going to be identified by what you truly are, that God made you, and that is a woman or a man. I like this quote that just came in from Scott on, it looks like the Rumble feed, MAGA, make asylums go again. Man, we really, really need that. And some of these people, you listen to some of the arguments they're making about this women in transgender in sports, and you say, man, we got to make the asylums kick back up. Some of these people really need it. It's really sad to see how many people are it's really sad to see how some people are just deceived by that. But again, say what you want about who you are. You can call yourself Sarah. You can call yourself Steve. I don't care. But the biology is a biology. And 1,000 years from now, they dig your ass up or your carcass up or those little bones up. They're going to figure out real quick whether you're a man or a woman. Now, your brain may not perceive the logic, but they're going to figure that out. I got the National Dress Up Day today. You know, it's National Dress Up Day, not for you, but it's National Dress Your Pets Up Day. And I would like to say, if you celebrate National Dress Your Pets Up Day, please don't, because those asylums are meant for people like you. Today's the day a pet lifestyle expert launched this in 2009 to support the pet fashion industry. And so you go to Petco or you go to PetSmart and you buy that little cute sweater for poodles. Don't do that ever. A new poll of 2,000 cat and dog owners looked at the top things we worry about when it comes to our pets, and fashion did not make the list. The people with their pets, 53% concerned about how happy their pets are, 52% obsessed on the health, what they eat, the natural food, the kibble, whatever, all the things you hear about. But no one's really concerned about your pet's fashion. And your pets are not concerned about their fashion either. Please don't put a sweater on your pet. If you do, those asylums, I think they should go for you. I think you should have a spot at the asylum because it's kind of weird. Delilah's glaring at me with a death stare. Do you put it? You dress your dog up? No, I never dress my never have. I had one time I put a Santa Claus hat on my dog and I told him to stay. And he sat there and looked at me like, what the hell's on my head? And I made him stand. And as he stood there, I took a photo, and that became the Christmas card on the Christmas card that year. That I've done that. That's the most dress up I've ever done. Listen, I don't even play dress up at my house. If you're dressing your dog up, don't. Today is National Dress Your Pet Up Day, but please don't. Please don't. It's just not right to do that. What's going to happen in Iran? Anybody got a guess on that? We'll talk more about that throughout the course of the week. Kenneth Abramowitz yesterday joined us. Go back and listen to yesterday's show. And Abramowitz joined us, and he's all for taking action, not boots on the ground, but he says military, kinetic action, cyber action. He says there are a lot of things we can do in Iran. President Trump has said that he's going to take action in Iran. And there's a question that all of you can respond to. What do you think the options should be? And what do you think the options are? President Trump said there is a red line. Thousands of people have been killed. There's evidently they've started public hangings in Iran to knock down the freedom fighters. And the protests are rocking the regime, but so now they're doing violent crackdowns on the protesters to regain control. Donald Trump says we're looking at action very seriously. The military is looking at it. We're looking at some very strong options, and we'll find out exactly what those options are and which ones we proceed with. Your thoughts, do you want the USA to do anything, or do you think that the USA should actually ignore the death there? You say, well, I don't want a foreign entanglement. I think you go back in history, you got to remember that one of the reasons we have America today, one of the reasons that our freedom fighting worked and that our founding fathers were executed by King George as rebellious to the throne is because we got help from another country named France, and we got help from the French, and they helped us fight the British. And so sometimes it doesn't mean you're going to colonize a place. It doesn't mean you're going to be forever entangled with that place, but occasionally, even in our own history, especially in our founding years, we had to have the help of the French. And matter of fact, if you go to Washington, D.C., if my history reminds me correctly, you have Lafayette Square there in Washington, D.C. It's named for the Frenchman who was really kind of a catalyst in helping us find our freedom against the empire of Great Britain at the time and King George. So don't poo-poo too much us getting some kind of involvement to help these freedom fighters, not us regime changing, but to just help them take governance of their own country. I remember that it was the French and Lafayette that actually helped America regain our freedom over the British. And sometimes when you're a fledgling little group of people that are just trying to fight against a power that's much more well-armed and organized than you, sometimes a little bit of outside help. So should we be the French and the Lafayettes to the Iranians? That's the question that I ask of you. Should we be involved? And what say you? And I understand that when you look at the paradigm or the perspective of the lens of history, you do understand that a lot of times great freedom overturns freedom. Freedom overturns tyranny, but as in our own American story, you had to have the help of the French to help get that across the border, and that probably was one of the turning points or a big spot in our American history. So, your thoughts on Iran? Keep a sharp eye on the television, and we will for sure follow the story as it breaks there as well. Speaking of Iran, I have a question for anybody watching or have friends or relatives, or maybe you're a fan of all the protests that happened at Harvard and Columbia and all these universities as they were waving their Palestinian flags out there, shutting down the campus. There's been thousands of people already killed in the last several days in Iran. There's been more killed than you ever shake the sick at when they were protesting on these campuses for the Palestinians or the against Israel. Where are all the Iranian flags on these campuses? Why do you think the university kids only went out there and decided to protest in this one area against Israel? But when real people are dying in massive numbers, public hangings are happening, women are trying to overcome oppression. Where are those brave little students from Columbia or Harvard? That's just a fair question. If you were pretending or saying you're outraged about the war in Gaza and the Israelis, if you're pretending to be bothered by that, but you're not bothered by what's happening in Iran, you probably should ask yourself, where are you getting your marching orders from? And why is it that the human life there doesn't seem to matter to you as much as these other human lives did? Again, if you want to be consistent across the board, you probably ought to get your Iranian flag and go shut down your campus for that. And the fact that they are not shows that they are being driven by puppet masters that tell them what they're to be bothered about and worried about. It's the same hypocrisy that if you're protesting Donald John Trump's ICE and deportations that happened, where were you in protesting when ICE was taking the exact same tactics and activity about on the streets, and Barack Obama was known as the deporter in chief? Where were you when Willie Jeff Clinton left the Oval Office long enough to pay attention to matters, and when his ICE organization was deporting people? Well, where were some of you people that are protesting ICE in Minnesota? Where were your fat, ugly asses back in the day whenever when Joe Biden's ICE was actually doing some deportations? Deportation is not something new. And if you're protesting it in Minnesota and you're protesting it under Donald Trump, but you didn't nary people word during previous presidencies, you need to ask yourself your intellectual honesty and your intellectual, find out how you're so intellectually bankrupt that you are absolutely positively not bothered. Why are you only bothered when Trump does something, but you didn't really give a rat's patootie whenever Barry Hussein Obama did something? Ask yourself that question. If you're protesting ICE now, why were you not protesting ICE back several presidencies back? And if you're protesting the Palestinians a few weeks ago and the Gaza, then I have to ask yourself, why is it that you're not protesting and or standing in solidarity with the people of Iran who are under a very tyrannical rule and with the tyrannical regime, murdered on the street? Women have absolutely no rights, not even allowed to leave their house without the company of a man, have to cover themselves with the hijab, and you're not bothered by that. I just have to ask you, well, why not? If you were that bothered about the atrocities, as you call them, in Gaza, and yet these Columbia University students and professors are very, very silent when it comes to what's happening in Iran, again, ask yourself who has their hand up your patootie, making your mouth move with stupidity. Consistency would be a very, very, very good thing. Delilah is flashing photos over the corner of her pet wearing sweaters. Don't do that to your pet. I know what she's going to say. He's a little bitty tiny dog, and the dogs have survived evolutionary. The dog has survived. He's not living on the street. He's living in your house. You don't need to put a sweater on that dog. She's going to throw something at me in just a couple of seconds. Going to throw something at me. All right. Anybody have those ideas of things that you wish your phone would do in 2026? 10, 15, 20 years ago, I was in disbelief that someone told me that this little iPod that I had was one day also going to be one day going to be a phone. And I disagreed. I thought it was wrong. I obviously am not on the cutting edge of technology. Sorry. And so now I ask you, what is it that you wish your phone could do? That you wish your phone could do that your phone cannot do now, but you think this would be a good idea. I saw one pop up on the screen earlier that said, I wish my phone would just get service that I pay for. That would be good. Service is good. Service has gotten much better. We should do that poll. Which phone company do you use? And they're all overpriced. They really are. But I like the battery idea. I think making sure the battery could work, if they could find a 10-year, a week-long battery, that would be a great addition to things our phones should be able to do. And another couple of things that are on the list, they said they would like your phone to be able to listen. This is a survey Samsung did. I want my phone to be able to listen in and instantly give me helpful suggestions. And you could just say, hey, I'm pretty close to the location, right? And it'll say, yes, you just need to make another right. So some people want to lose their last shed of privacy to their phone. Last shed of privacy. No more privacy. You're just going to give up all the privacy. Somebody says, take control of my finances and my monthly bill pay. Isn't that what auto pays for? Don't you already have that on your phone? You just want your phone to, I don't get that one. And also, some people said in 2036, in the next 10 years, they would like their phone to be able to, quote, here's the quote from Samsung, anticipate your thoughts and auto insert them without me having to type. So now I'm a voice texter because I drive a lot, and I'll say Siri, text so-and-so, and I'll voice text, and a lot of auto corrections are very, very embarrassing there. But some people say I just want to think and my phone to pick up on that. Some people are willing to let their phones get pretty intrusive in the next 10 years. As for me, I don't like it. You know, a feature on my phone that people say they would like to have perfected in the next 10 years. I turned this thing off, the auto brightness thing. That's AI, I guess. It's its own kind of perceiving the light outside or inside and adjust your brightness. Does anybody use? I hate that. Sometimes I think I've gone blind. I think I have cataracts. I look at my phone one time, I can see, and then the next time I can't see a darn thing on my phone. I hate that. So, yeah, I don't like it. I don't want my phone to be any more intrusive. If anybody, I think the battery lasting an entire week would be a great development of the phone. I think better reception would be a better thing on the phone. I think that'd be great as well. But I have to tell you, I don't want it to be any more intrusive in my personal life. How many of you have ever found yourself, and you seriously do it, you have a topic and you want to push your phone away? Or I've done this with friends. Somebody will say something controversial, and I will say, that's not me. That's producer Chad, to whoever who's listening to us. That was not me. I blame it on him. But yeah, I don't want any more intrusion in my privacy. I'm not sure if I want that at all. All right, things you want your phone to be able to do in 10 years and it's not doing now. Jeff says, not that I want it. I'm sure AI pocket girlfriend is on the horizon. A pocket girlfriend. I think those are probably already available at stores that gentlemen probably shouldn't go to. I don't know. Is he referring to that, or I don't know. I just don't know. Jim says this: alert you to the presence of liberals and idiots near you and route around them. Remember during the COVID, you could turn on the sensitivity of your phone that if people reported they had COVID, your phone was going to alert you that you're around people that had identified as having the Booger Cootie virus. Yeah, I turned that thing off. I'm sorry. I'll let my immune system take care. I don't want that nonsense. So, all right, great to have you here on the show. At the end of today's program, as we roll the credits, we're going to play the entire Brother Leroy song about the Lakey Live Roadshow event coming up on January the 20th, just this coming Tuesday. And our first stop in the roadshow this year is going to be in the great state of Colorado. We're going to be at the Casbar Cigar Lounge in Lafayette, Colorado, named, I'm guessing, after that great Frenchman that helped America find freedom, Mr. Lafayette. And we hope you'll join us. We'll play the entire Brother Leroy song coming up at the end of the show today. End of the show. That is coming up indeed. I got a couple of hate messages I see popped in my email here. Jimmy, you're wrong about the pets. Pets do need sweaters sometimes. Yeah, okay. Your opinion. Don't buy. Yeah, pet. Your dog's not worried about fashion. Your dog doesn't like that fashion anyway. Stop it. I disagree. I think I had this conversation. I think it was with producer Chad's wife. I think I was making fun of pet costumes one time, and she says that she puts sweaters on their dog. And now I'm starting to remember that conversation. I think that was with producer Chad's wife. So she may be throwing things at producer Chad, say, why do you guys work together? He doesn't like dog sweaters. Well, no, I don't. Well, I have a dog that looks like an Ewok. And it suffocate my dog. My dog is big, fluffy, furry, and he loves going outside. And if your dog doesn't like going outside in the cold, then don't let him outside in the cold. Let him pee in the corner. Doesn't bother me at all how you let your dog behave. Jeff is defending his honor on he says, an incorporated pocket girlfriend. Wait, are we speaking the same language here? Don't look at Delilah for this one. Hey, are we speaking the same language? Pocket girl, what do you think? You want that on your phone? Listen, have you ever, it's like going to a hotel room where they put a black light up and you see all the stuff, you're kind of icky in this hotel room. And they do research on phones, and because so many people use their phone while they're doing business, there's they're doing their business, right? People are scrolling their phone, and they have done research on phones that phones, sadly, oftentimes have fecal matter on them because people are using them in the bathroom. The phones are very gross and dirty. Clean your phone up. And now Jeff wants to make it even grosser and dirtier. Ray jumps in on Jeff's comments on the YouTube. Ray jumps in and says, put your phone in your pocket and leave it on vibrate. And that could be your pocket girlfriend. Yeah. All right. Jeff says, not my phone, someone else's phone. No, this is okay. Into the question. No more of this. Jeff has taken this over the edge. He wants his girlfriend to be he wants his phone to be a pocket girlfriend. I think there's apps for that. I think there's I think you got the what is it called? Is it the Tweeter? No, that's Twitter. The Tinder. You got the Tinder. You can find a girlfriend in your pocket there. Not, but I don't think that's what Jeff's talking about at all. I just don't think that's it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the Brother Leroy song's coming up here in just a minute. We'll play the entirety of it. Brand new song. And yes, this is the one that has Laura Carno's name mentioned in it. And I read the lyrics. It says Laura Carno walks in and the crowd goes wild. So we got a little Carno segment in the song. Producer Chad is also in the arrangement. So don't depart when the screen goes dark and I disappear. You'll hear the Brother Leroy song promoting our event coming up January the 20th in Lafayette, Colorado. We hope to see you there, and it's going to be a good day. We'll do the show live from there. A lot of special activities planned for that day, so you don't want to miss it. All right, it's time for the Stolen Memes section of the show. This is where we steal the memes from around the interglobe, the intergoogles, and we intellectual property theft. But first, let me remind you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. That's the website. You're in Colorado looking to do some real estate transaction, whether you're a buyer or whether you're a seller. You need to make sure you have the right strategy, the right timing. Sometimes that timing can shift in a matter of weeks or a month. You may think something needs to happen. You want to buy or sell or list your home in June. If you could do it a little bit earlier, get it ready earlier, it could be thousands of dollars that remain in your pocket. Listen, homeswithsherry.com. It's that strategy session. She knows, she approaches real estate that this transaction you're going to make, whether you're buying or selling, is something that can create generational wealth. So she wants you to be able to keep as much of that money and have more money in your pocket, because it is an opportunity, just the home investment alone, to create generational wealth. You got to make the right moves. Also, don't forget this generosity. When Sherry makes money on a home, that's her job. She's a realtor. She'll take a portion of her proceeds and she will donate it to the charity of your choice. If you're a veteran, active duty military, she will also, my friends, what will she do? She will discount her commissions right up front, so that you, again, get to keep more money in your pocket on the sale, because she wants to say thank you for serving your country. Go to the website. If you're in that I-25 corridor in Colorado, I'd say look at the Denver area, draw that metro area, reach it up to Fort Collins, reach it up to Windsor, those areas, that I-25 corridor from Denver north, and even west and east. She can help you out there, my friends. And if not, she'll give you free reference to someone that might be able to serve you better. But it starts with the conversation. First-time home buyer in your family, they don't think it's possible, you don't think it's possible, talk to Sherry. There's so many programs, even with the high cost of living here in Colorado. There's programs that she can kind of steer you to get into, to be able to do that first-time home buy. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, great friend of the show. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Be sure to tell her that Jimmy Lakey, that's me, by the way, talking about her on this program. Here we go, my friends. Time for the Stolen Memes section of the show. And we go around the globe, and where we steal the memes from, we don't know, but they're going to pop up on the screen right here. Let's do it. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There's Joseph Biden, his logic. My policies worked when I was president. Your gas tank held $100. Under Trump, it only holds $65. That's true. That's true. I punched in the grocery store card the other day, the gas pump, to get those savings you get a couple. I was down to like $1.64, $1.54. I bought a lot of food for Christmas as well, though. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. My son got suspended from school today because he asked the teacher if two blind people had a baby, who's going to watch it? That's probably a question I would have asked at school. I might have asked that. If two blind people have a baby, who's going to watch the baby? It's a really good question. I think it's a good question. I think it's trying to keep kids safe. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. You can blame the Somalis, but at some point you must realize that the real villain is the one that brought them here. There he is. Oh, look, it's Barry. Right there. Yeah, how'd all these Somalis get here? 80 to 90% are on public assistance, and they come here. Yeah, this immigration policy we had is not Ellis. People, it's Ellis Island. No, it's not Ellis Island. Ellis Island, you had to be able to prove that you're not going to go on public assistance. Yeah. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Here we go. Rammed law enforcement with a car on the left, and then fought for faith, family, and free speech. Left and right, our heroes are not the same. That's true. Let that one sink into you. Our heroes are not the same. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. When you realize that coexist sticker only includes two genders. You ever notice that? I have noticed that. I've heard that before. All those hippies out there driving their Subaru Outbacks and whatever they're doing out there. Well, by the way, you notice that suddenly these Subaru Outback drivers now have big SUVs where they're stalking ICE. Risking the environment with those gas-guzzling SUVs, I say. Should be an electric car, shouldn't they? Yeah, only two genders on that thing. Only two genders. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. It looks like a Babylon Bee headline. Jesus' parents realize he's divine as he completes carpentry project without going back to Home Depot a single time. This is why I don't do carpentry projects, producer Chad, because I keep going back to Home Depot and it doesn't get any better. Yeah, that was a sign when you don't have to go to Home Depot. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Intellectual property thievery is over. The Chinese have logged in and said that they don't want me to get better than them at stealing things. So no more memes for the day. No more memes. All right, it's been a pleasure, my friends. I appreciate you being a part of the program. Why don't you send us an email, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. I'll be back here tomorrow morning. Producer Chad will be right there as well. Delilah, Aiden, the hipster youth will be here. And we're coming to Lafayette, Colorado, Tuesday, January the 20th. I hope to see you there. It's going to be a fun day, fun morning. The Casbar Cigar Lounge. Laura Carno's going to be there live, good Lord willing, and we hope you're there live as well. In the meantime, stand by Brother Leroy's full song that he's put together yesterday regarding, he added Laura Carno into the mix. That full song is going to play in just a couple of seconds. Don't miss it. We'll roll the credits and play the song. I am Jimmy Lakey. May God bless you. May God bless America. Jimmy Lakey, peace. I'm out of here.
On a Tuesday morning, Lafayette waking to the thunder and roar. Doors swing wide at 7:45. You can feel that rumble right through the floor. Smoke curls up with the first lit cigar. Crew rolls in like a rock and roll wave. Unleashed, unfiltered, everything louder. This is the broadcast you crave. The Lakey Unleashed. unleashed on the road show. 8 a.m. and the amps are screaming. Producer Chad with a backstage grin. Laura Carno walks in. Crowd goes crazy. This is where the legends begin. 1 year riding that inauguration whirlwind. Voices raised. Yeah, we're marking the date. Laughter, lightning, truth in the crossfire. You can feel the shake in the state. You can feel that shake in the state.